you had Negroes that was all up there in Russia, and left a lot of children up there. Even though the Klitschko's looked the way that they look, I was watching this thing on them when they first came to America. The first thing that Vladimir and Vitaly wanted to do was meet black people. When they came here from the Ukraine, the first thing they wanted to do was meet black people.
The boxers.
Yeah, the boxers. You know the two 6'7" tall boxers, fucking everybody, nobody could beat them. Yeah. The battery's going dead.
No, I'll fix it.
Okay, all right, yeah. But believe it or not, the Klitschko's are descendants of black people in Russia. Whether they know it or not, because you had Israelites that was all up there in Russia and left a lot of babies up there. There's books. You can go to the Cloisters Museum over there on the West Side Highway, and they got books that shows you icons of black people up in Russia. Matter of fact, there's a famous Russian who was famous for killing the Ottoman Turks, which give me that so-called juice. His name was Ivan the Terrible. Ivan the Terrible was famous for killing these bastards' descendants because the Khazars, half of them converted to Judaism and the other half converted to the religion of Islam and became known as the Ottoman Empire. Before they were the Ottoman Empire and before they made up what you call today Jews today, they were known as the Khazars in the Caucasus Mountains in between the Black and Caspian Sea and Russia. Now the Ottoman Empire were these so-called Jews that half converted to Islam, the other half converted to Judaism. Now the Ottoman Empire, Ivan the Terrible, was a Negro up in Russia who was reigning terror on the Ottoman Empire. He hated them damn devils and he was killing their ass. And there's icons of Ivan the Terrible running them over with a chariot and horses, running goddamn Ottoman Turks over. That's why they called him the Terrible. Ivan the Terrible, because he was terrible to them goddamn bastards. There's another famous black man in that history that Hollywood makes movies about and they sensationalize it. Believe it or not, Dracula was a descendant of black people. It sounds funny, but if you look up Vlad Tepes, his real name was Vlad Dracula. He did have a castle in Transylvania, and he was famous for killing the Ottoman Turks, which are basically these devils right here. He hated them sons of bitches, and he would impale them. So the Hungarians called him Vlad Tepes. The Hungarian word Tepes means to impale somebody, and that means to take somebody and hold them down, and you put a stake through their ass, and it might come out their collarbone, and put it in the ground, and they sit in there impaled. And that's what he was famous for. Vlad Dracula. That was his name, Vlad Dracula. He was famous for killing the Ottoman Turks. That's what he would do to them. And there was in the history leading to Castle Dracula in Transylvania, leading through the forest there. On the forest, both sides of the forest, everywhere you went, there was people impaled. He had about 20-something thousand people impaled. So when the army of the Turks, when they came to go to his castle and they seen all them bodies impaled, they turned around and went back to the Sultan and told him what they saw. And they were like, what kind of man could do this to somebody? And that was Vlad Tepes. The Turks eventually caught up to Tepes and they beheaded him. They put his head in honey. But he was another famous Israelite. He was also basically a part of the Catholic Church. He believed in the Bible. He believed in God. And he hated Islam and he hated the goddamn Turks. And he fought tooth and nail to kill them bastards. He hated them bastards, yeah.
No, I was about to say, is that the one they buried him like 12 deep in the ground? Like they got some like monk watching over his grave. I seen it like a documentary on something.
Vlad Tepes, like, well, you know what? As far as how they killed him, I know that the personal assassin of the Sultan,
watching over his grave.
They cut his head off, but there's a statue over there. And if you look up the history on Vlad Tepes or Vlad Dracula, the area where he was called Wallachia, but it was spelled with a W. Because over in that region, like in Russia, when they say like Vladimir, it'll be spelled with a W, but it's actually W actually means WV, double V. But they call it W. That's two. You put two V's together, you get a W. So the name, you hear some people they'll say Vladimir, but they'll pronounce it Vladimir, but it's spelled with a W. Now the area where he was from over there was called Wallachia. They called it Wallachia. But like I said, Vlad Tepes, he's a famous man in history. He hated the Ottoman Turks. He was butchering them bastards. He was a part of the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire, those was our ancestors that was over there in Eastern Europe. And you can Google the Byzantine icons of the Byzantine Empire. You're gonna see nothing but black faces with corn braids, with afros.
So look, they got him as a comic. They got him as a black man.
Now that's a comic right there of Vlad Tepes or Vlad the Impaler. Now the movie Bram Stoker's Dracula, it told you the truth about him, but it was only like maybe the first 10-15 minutes of the movie that was the actual truth. The rest of that shit about him turning into a bat and grabbing people and sucking their blood, that's all bullshit. That's Hollywood. Him turning into a bat and turning into a pile of rats or turning into a werewolf, that's all bullshit. But when the movie first starts and it shows people being impaled and their bodies being staked in the ground and people sitting there, that was real. That was Vlad Tepes right there. That was him right there. But and they show you in the movie, they show you he was wearing a suit. It looked like the suit was made of skins, made of sinews, and he had the cross of the Catholic Church, and he had a cross inside of his castle because he was a part of the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire, those was our ancestors in Eastern Europe. So there's a lot of history that we're not taught. We're not taught about as a people.
Yeah. This is John 8:31. Then said Yahushua to those Jews which believed on him, if ye continue in my word, then are ye my disciples indeed. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
Right. So that's why we're talking about when I said earlier that the majority of people that's going to make it are not going to look like me and you. They're going to look like these guys here. They're going to look like them. They're going to look like Japanese. They're going to look like Chinese. Because it goes back to when our ancestors was in those regions and left children over there. And the children that were born looked like the people of that land and even spoke the language. So they weren't speaking Hebrew. They weren't wearing the garments. They weren't even keeping the Passover. They don't even know that they're Israelites. Or that they descended from Israelites. So that's why in Revelation the 7th chapter, John did an innumerable multitude that he couldn't recognize. He was looking at him, he's like, these are a bunch of heathens. They said there was an innumerable multitude of every nation, kindred, and tongue. But John didn't recognize them. He didn't recognize them when he seen them.
Good job.
What you got?
Jeremiah 12:9. Mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird.
Right, that's the Most High speaker. He said, mine heritage unto me is as a speckled bird. We're not gonna all look the same. See, brothers be expecting like everybody gonna come looking like Shaq with a 360-degree afro, and chocolate skin, and a black leather blazer. You know, shalom, baby. Nah, it ain't gonna be like that. It's not gonna be like that, man. It's not gonna be like that. And man, don't you know, like about 48% of the slaves that was brought to this side of the world from West Africa was brought down into Brazil? Over 48%. It wasn't just coming here to Jamaica, Trinidad, Haiti, the Cape Verde, the Cape Verdean island, the Isle of Cape Verde. Cape Verdeans, those are Negroes. And just coming here to the mainland America, South America too. About 48% of the slaves were trafficked down into Brazil. So you got a lot of Negroes that's down in Brazil. And they speak in Portuguese. And they speak in Portuguese.
But mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field. Come to devour.
Go ahead, read it again.
Mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her.
Right, the Lord is speaking in the metaphor again. He said, mine inheritance is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her, meaning the other nations round about are against us. All these nations, they come here to do one thing, make money, and they all make money off of us. East Indians, the Arabs come here and they get a corner store, they selling sandwiches, they making fried chicken. That's a Negro thing, fried chicken. They sitting there selling, they got a fried chicken joint set up, and they selling you fried chicken. Black people running up in there getting chicken wings, getting French fries, and little small sweet potato pies. $3. Getting them a 5-piece of chicken with a biscuit, that coleslaw. And they come up in here and they getting money. You get the East Indians, they'll come up over here, and they'll open up a business. They'll probably have a liquor store or something right in the hood.
What do you think about Obama?
And they're making money. Obama, well, he's not one of us.
The lady said something.
Michelle is, but he's not. He's a Hamite. His ancestors are the ones that put us in slavery in the first place. Part of his and his father's people are responsible for putting us in slavery too. And the reason why he looks the way he looks is because his mother was a white woman from Hawaii. That's why he looked the way he looked. Because when Obama seen what his father actually looked like, that motherfucker started smoking crack. If you know anything about the history of Barack Obama, when he finally seen what his father looked like, his father from Kenya, it fucked him up. The motherfucker started using drugs. He was smoking crack. When he finally seen what his father looked like, he looks the way he looked because his mother's genes kind of helped him out a little bit. That he don't look like them damn Kenyans. But those people, them Kenyans, we were at war with them in the ancient world. Matter of fact, they the people that they are the ancient they were known as the ancient Babylonian Empire, and they had us in slavery back in the ancient world. He's not one of us. Just because he looks the way he looks, he's not one of us. But Michelle is. Michelle is one of us, but he's not. What?
Got something for you. This is Deuteronomy 17 and 15. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord power shall choose. And one from among thy brethren shalt thou...
The Lord said if we're going to set somebody up as a king over us, it got to be somebody from amongst us. Not somebody of another nation is set up as a king up over us to rule over us. It's supposed to be one of our own. Now, wouldn't common sense tell you that you got tons of black men here, American Negroes if you want to call them that showed leadership, that showed sacrifice. You had guys, Jesse Jackson, you got Al Sharpton. You got countless others who have been out there on the front lines and showed leadership, but they're going to take this guy and he's going to become president? No, hell no, no, no. They put him in there to become president because he's one of their boys. He's a part of the game. That's what they put him in there for. He's a part of the game. You mean to tell me he came out of nowhere and just became president? They set this motherfucker up to be president. Prior to 2008, did anybody know about Barack Obama? Hell no. I knew about Obama going back to 2004, 2005. I knew that he was Senator of Chicago back then. How many black people knew prior to 2008 that Obama was Senator of Chicago? None did. They're a bunch of lying motherfuckers if they said that they did. And this dude, and with the money that he made with his campaign, he made, I think, the highest amount of money in endorsements that any president ever made in campaign donations. How the fuck that all happened? This guy is like, he came out of nowhere, he became president of the United States. They put him in there to complete an agenda that they're setting up. Exactly. And that's what he's a part of. That's what he's doing. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's doing what he told you.
He's doing the devil's bid. We're part of the new world order.
And he's the devil
like
himself.
Sunshine, but he got a whole lot of shit behind him.
Exactly. Go ahead.
Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy power shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother.
Right. The Lord, that's the law. The Lord said we're not supposed to set up over us a stranger that is not our people. He's a stranger. He's not one of us. And the main ones that were putting him in there was who? The fucking black woman. They were the main ones that was down there in D.C. crying and all that. And they love him. You can't tell the American black woman shit about Obama. That's why I say to hell with them. To hell with them. Because it's going to be a rude awakening, man. But Obama, back in 2010, when they first passed that Obamacare, I think it's on page 1000 to page 1004 of the Obamacare package, it talks about an implantable device being put in people to track people. And they're saying it's for medical reasons, but it's a part of the Obamacare. and it's known today as the RFID microchip.